Miami Dolphins, if you didn't see this, and maybe you missed it, so the report now says the Dolphins are asking for, wait for it, clarity that the brass, the people in the corner office at the Miami Dolphins, mainly the owner, he would like to know Deshaun Watson's status, meaning his legal status. He wants that resolved before consummating a deal. Otherwise, no mas. We're done. Now, the Houston Chronicle reported that the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, he is the one that is asking for transparency from Roger Goodell. And he would like to know the length of a suspension. It's not a matter of if Deshaun Watson's going to be suspended. It is a matter of when and for how long is Watson going to be out of the NFL. So let us discuss the question on this one. When you first heard about this latest report of a Deshaun Watson trade holdup in the giddy-up, what did you think? So my thoughts, porn, Virgin Atlantic, and barge. And we will combine all of these things together, and on the warpath we go. All right. Now, this was very easy to telegraph. Right? Very easy. This part of the Deshaun Watson trade speculation, very easy. If you've been around the block one time, you knew this was coming. So these NFL insiders are all cut out of the same cloth. They've been running like banshees with Deshaun Watson speculation. It has been sharks in the water. It's a feeding frenzy. It's not even sharks. It's piranhas with blood in the water. Everyone is trying to top the last person. It's a urinating match. No, my Deshaun Watson story is better than your Deshaun Watson trade story. And they all have league sources, and they throw in, it is an all-you-can-eat buffet of weasel words. Growing belief, increasingly likely, moving towards. It has been a hyperbolic clickbait pornopalooza. It's clickbait porn is what it is. Tell me I'm wrong, right? The main purpose of this content is to attract attention to get clicks. It's not based in any kind of reality. There is no way on God's green earth that in the current climate we're in, Deshaun Watson, with his legal cloud over his head, is going to be traded. Not before the deadline, not even in the offseason, right? It's not going to be resolved unless there's a settlement. And even if there's a settlement, there's still an open criminal investigation that could lead to criminal charges. So stop. This is not a piece of cake situation. We're not talking about you didn't pay your parking tickets. This is a different deal. And while right now it's all civil, there is the possibility that this becomes much more than that. Now, part B. All right, the Dolphins owner, this rich aristocrat, Stephen Ross, he knows he cannot trade for Deshaun Watson, just like the hedge fund guy in Carolina. Nobody can. Not your mystery team, nobody. Because Deshaun Watson is a toxic asset. High levels of toxicity around Deshaun Watson. Now, the latest reporting, if anything, it validates what we've been trying to say around these parts. Outside of a dramatic, unexpected plot twist, Deshaun Watson, you know what he's going to be doing here? He's going to go spin, 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 spin. He's spinning his wheels in purgatory, football purgatory. He hadn't been suspended. He's in no man's land. No man's land. Hadn't been suspended. That's still coming down the pike, but he can't play. The NFL cannot tell teams what the punishment's going to be. Why? We're only in chapter 3 of the story. It's not a Hollywood screenplay. You know, in Hollywood, oftentimes, there's different techniques, but a lot of people who write movies and books will write the ending of the story and then figure out how to get there. That's not what's going on now. Watson, we're in the story. He didn't write the ending first. He wrote the beginning, and now we're in chapter 3. Chapter 1 was getting the nice massages. Chapter 2 was the you-know-what hitting the fan. And now chapter 3 is to see what happens next. And so we got to play this straight through the end of the process, the legal process. And as a result, the NFL, they're flying a Virgin Atlantic flight in a holding pattern now, waiting for a runway to open up. There are multiple possible endings. The most benign ending would be that there are no criminal charges and Deshaun Watson cuts one of those big cartoon checks for a settlement, and then he ends up playing. But he still gets suspended. Now, there are some worse endings where this becomes a criminal case. He is convicted. He goes to jail, and his career is over. All right, last word here. So Roger Goodell had a lot to say at the owners' meetings. He will not make any promises. He did address Deshaun Watson. And the reason he won't make any promises is obviously he can't. He was intentionally vague when the issue came out. He knew he would be asked about it. He said, quote, "We don't have all the access to that information and pride ourselves on not interfering with it. That process is ongoing." It's a lot of bull crap jammed into a little sentence. He also said, and the most important part is that we don't feel we have the necessary information to place him on the exempt list. Okay, if you follow the NFL, Zeke Elliott got suspended for 6 games, and they did not have any evidence that would lead you to believe that Zeke Elliott should have been suspended for 6 games. I'm not a cowboy honk or anything like that, but I did follow that story, and I like these criminal stories. I like to read this stuff. I practice law on the radio. And I don't pass the bar. In life, I haven't passed the bar. But on this show, I've passed the bar many times. So, but that part of the story, that quote from Roger Goodell was snake-like. It's a barge filled with 12,000 tons of horse crap is what it is. Deshaun Watson, just in case you're late to the party and maybe you haven't been paying attention because you actually have a job and you have a life, Deshaun Watson faces 22 civil lawsuits in Harris County, Texas, from women who have made all kinds of allegations of inappropriate sexual misconduct during massage sessions, which turned into a petting match where Deshaun thought it was a petting zoo and would you like to pet the anaconda? Now, Watson scoured Instagram to find a collection of random women in multiple time zones to give him sugar and spice. It's oh so nice all across the country. I mean, think about it, guys. There's a lot of guys that are like all over Instagram, desperately trying to get the beautiful booty model's attention. But imagine being Deshaun Watson, and you're like an NFL player. Now, maybe some of these women didn't know who he was. I imagine they Googled him and figured it out pretty quick. But these incidents happened not only in Texas, where the Houston Texans play their home games with Deshaun Watson, Georgia, that's where Deshaun's from, California, and Arizona. So 4 states across state lines. The Houston police are investigating some of the accusations. No charges have been filed. The FBI is also looking into it. And we do know that Deshaun Watson is spending a lot of money on the number one defense attorney that money will buy in the state of Texas to keep him out of jail, to keep him on the field. Rusty Hardin, who has represented anybody who's anyone in the state of Texas, but mainly Houston. Arthur Anderson, if you're old, you might remember the great Enron scandal. The Astros used to play at Enron Field, and they were cooking the books, and Arthur Anderson was represented by Rusty Hardin. James Harden, James Harden, back in his Rockets days, was represented by Rusty Hardin. He was accused of some taboo things. Roger Clemens, Adrian Peterson, among those that have paid the man, Rusty Hardin. And we know Watson has no endorsements anymore. So he's got his NFL salary. Nike suspended his contract. Beats by Dre dropped him. Rolex also. A bunch of Houston businesses got out of it. I got to tell you, though, one final point on the Deshaun Watson story, and it's a great story if you love made-up rumors, and also the fact that I want to be fair, these aren't completely made up. These are stories that are planted by executives with teams. Some of them are made up, but this is a sneaky good way, this latest reporting by the Houston Chronicle, to save some credibility, right? Because essentially what they said, John McClain, the longtime Houston reporter, had said that a trade was going to happen by the weekend. He said this last week, by this weekend that just passed, the trade was going to happen. So now they've evolved the story, and they're essentially saying, well, you know what? Our reporting was accurate. But the Dolphins are the ones that are holding up the trade because they want to know what kind of legal jeopardy they are in by taking Deshaun Watson. Like, you couldn't see that one coming. Come on now.